Hi creative friends, this is Soraya and thank you so much for being here. So I allowed this to completely dry and I just want to bring it up closer just so you can see the luscious textures and just all the beautiful paint quality that's going on. Now keep in mind, I don't have a lot of layers on this. And before I move on, I just wanted to apologize for keep on asking, like, hey, are you guys interested in watching me complete this? So sometimes what happens is I think, oh, am I the only one who's like really interested in, XYZ and, maybe this is boring and tedious and whatever. So that's why I ask it. So I'll stop asking it and I'm just gonna kind of assume that, hey, if you want to watch it, watch it. And if you're not interested, then obviously you just wouldn't watch it. So I apologize for keep on asking that. I will stop doing that. But what I want to just reiterate is the points I've been making all along. And the first point is the push and pull. So when you push something into the background, it's gonna be best portrayed by using cool or neutral colors and a darker value. And when you are pulling something forward on your page, then you are going to be using brighter colors and a lighter value. And this holds true whether you're painting portraits, landscapes, still lifes, whatever. The second thing is how everything works in tandem with everything else on your page. So if I had to come in here and make the whole background a bright red, it is absolutely going to change everything. Like it's going to compete with the portrait, because if I'm using this really like bright red, it's going to, and it could provide a lot of interesting tension. I'm not saying it's going to be negative, but my point is it's going to change absolutely everything. So that would be a good experiment to do, is just doing kind of different things to see how it changes. Because even if I make like one, if I put like one line over here, it does change everything else. So everything works like a symphony. And then the third thing is that, your color field, so just say the hair is black, it's reading as black, but I am using so many different colors to portray that. And what I'm gonna do is, I need to clean my studio up again because everything's turning into a big mess, but I'm gonna show you this over here. This is a great opportunity for me to explain what I'm talking about. So if you look at this sweater, okay, I am gonna roughly guesstimate that most of this sweater, like a majority of the sweater, is actually not red. Like all of this over here, except for this line, is actually a very dark, I would say it's almost like a Payne's gray, but it's a warm Payne's gray. So I would say it's a very dark brown. And even over here, like all of these lines, all of this over here, this over here, like there's a majority of this sweater is actually not red, but your eye is reading it as red or orange, I guess, depending on, I mean, color is subjective as well. But my point is, it's a good question to ask. Why is my eye reading this sweater as red when, like, 70 or 75% of it is actually not even red, but my eye is still reading it as red? This is a great question to ask yourself, and you can just go and look at different photographs of paintings or whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it's of. It could be of still lifes, or it could be of even a real life photo of, say, a landscape or a person or whatever. It's a good question to ask, to really isolate things and look at them in great detail and say, why is my eye reading this as red, but actually most of it is not red? And then you'll begin to really understand how when you are painting something, the color field is not just going to be a flat piece of color. Now, this is if you're interested in painting in a more painterly style and not a poster style. Because if you're going to be painting in a poster style, you know, you're probably then going to go for like flat fields of color. And there are plenty of artists who have done that and continue to do that. And, you know, that's just another painting style. But if you're interested in a more kind of a, you know, a painterly style, you want to convey more like emotions and depth and realism and all of these things, then yeah, you're going to realize that, hey, this is reading as black, but actually it's not really black. It's like there's all these different colors and tones and, you know, textures, etc. in the color field. So those are my 3 main points. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue working on this, and then when I am done working on this, I'm going to just show you a couple of other like books about drawing and make a few pertinent points when it comes to painting and drawing. So what I'm going to do here is I think I'm going to like add some blue to the dress because I'm really kind of wanting it to read as blue. But like I said, I'm still going to keep like some of the like just like the neutrals, and see there's like burnt sienna in here, and I'm even gonna drag my Stabilo in here, I think, my black Stabilo, and just kind of like make it like super juicy. And just make this blue like more of a neutral kind of a blue. And I hope this doesn't puddle into the, well, I'm gonna drag actually some of that into the shadowy part here. But I hope it doesn't like get onto this yellow. And I'm just going to drag it into the face here. Like the shadowy parts. So the parts that I used for blue in my previous, like in the previous page over here, and I made all those videos on it, like when I spill that, you know, blue ink onto the page, all I'm doing now is I am just putting the blue on, and I'm using the yellow for my pull parts, and I'm using these blues here that I'm dragging into the face. I'm using all of this for the push parts. And there we go. And I'm just gonna kind of like, and I'm blotting it because I don't want it to run into the lighter parts here. So I think I'm gonna drip some of this ink here. And what I'm gonna start doing now is I'm gonna start building my push parts of the face, like of the eye area. And if you guys are gonna use like this model and, you know, put some of the lighter value, you can use like different lighter values. Especially if you're doing a figure, you can use pink, for instance. That would be a great light color. Or you can use even a very watered down orange. And yellow is just great because yellow is like it will convey light. So I'm just kind of like building up these push parts here, and I'm gonna drag some of this blue ink. So I'm gonna kind of put it all over there. And I don't know if I want to add writing on the back. I mean, I may, just because it might make it more interesting, but I'm not sure yet. So I'm going to drag some of this blue into the hair over here. So do you see how, even though I am painting black hair, I am adding a lot of colors. And when I work in my art journal, a lot of times I will like drag different colors from the face into the hair. And I actually say that. I go, oh, I'm adding my blue. I'm dragging it into the hair to liven it up. That's what kind of what I'm talking about, is just, you know, painting an interesting color field. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to, I'm going to mix some of my burnt sienna. This is my Liquitex transparent burnt sienna. Now it does come in a lot of other colors, and I absolutely love this color for the skin tones that I like. And so I think what I'm going to also do, you guys, is I am going to do another portrait, but I am going to do what I talked about, which is using like a one color and water. And I think that would be a good exercise for anybody watching and for me also. So I just thought about that. Like that would be a really good learning opportunity. So all I'm doing, you guys, is I am just kind of building up the base. And I'm getting a lot of like gray tones, which I love. So what I found for me is the parts that you push in, gray tones work really well, like cool gray tones. And you can even use warm grays for the pull parts. Like once you really get better at values, you can really play around with so many different things. And that's my main objective, is to just strengthen my values. Because then when you strengthen your values, you don't have to use warm colors for the pull part. You can actually use cool colors for the pull part, and then you know, like, oh my god, you're like a master at color. And I've seen lots of amazing artists do that, and they do it like if you're looking at the painting, you don't even realize it. But that's really what they're doing. They're using a cool or a neutral color in the pull part of the face, and to you, it just reads like you're just looking at the painting, but that requires a lot of skill. And then you can be like, oh my god, that person is a master, because now you understand the rule and you've broken it. And to do that, you need to understand values. So I hope I'm not getting too complicated, you guys, and I hope I'm explaining things like in a way that is understandable. So I'm going to bring some reds into the face, but like I said, I want everything to be very neutral, so I don't want to overpower it, and I want to neutralize it a little bit. So what I'm doing is I'm mixing my alizarin crimson with my burnt sienna, so it's kind of neutralizing it a little bit. And let's see, drag some of that into the neck over here. Now I did not use too many tea bags in this, so I don't know if I'm gonna, like, once this dries, maybe I'll go in and add some tea bags. And I need a finer brush here. So I am gonna bring this up closer here just so you can see like some of the paint quality and just the interesting things that are happening. I'm really, like this is actually surprisingly, it has a lot of depth, but in a different way, because normally I go for the, like the Payne's Gray or the ultramarine blue. So using the yellow is actually very interesting to me. You know, it's just like, wow, okay, I didn't, you know, it's just like a different kind of a vibe, I guess. And I'm gonna bring some of this kind of, so this is my chalk paint in Cashew, and I'm just kind of like dragging it in here and just kind of making like some interesting kind of color feels here. And now what I'm gonna do is I am going to add a splash of my background here. So see, I'm loading my brush with water, and there's no right or wrong for this, you guys. Like, just experiment and kind of see what works for you. I usually leave this as the last thing I'm gonna do in this, like, you know, because I have to allow it to dry. So I work on the face first and then I work on the background, because I don't want all of this water to like puddle into the face. So see, I'm gonna like drag it away from the face here a little bit. And I think when I come back, I'm gonna need to soften the edges a little bit. And I could use my oil pastels or like other media. Now I have to be very careful, you guys. I want you guys to see it, but I don't want to spill all of this like water. Like, I don't want it to come into the hair and the face. So I'm gonna move this off to the side, and I'm gonna talk about something that relates to what I'm doing. Okay, so okay, one of the things, and I'm going to try to explain this in a couple of different ways, but in a very simple way. So drawing from a photograph is easier than drawing from real life. Okay, so this is true whether it's a still life, it's a person, it doesn't matter. Besides the changes in lighting and movement, etc., if you draw from a picture, like from a photograph, you're translating from 2D to 2D. So the photograph it actually makes all your visual problems flat. It flattens everything, and it removes all the complexities like depth and perspective. But when you draw from real life, it involves more complex observations like judgment, spatial understanding, etc. So if you're painting from real life, you have to translate from 3D into 2D. So in a more simple way, just say you set up a still life of like, say, you know, some fruit and a bowl. That real life that you have set up, it has depth, it has distance, and it has space. But when you are drawing it or painting it onto a flat piece of paper, which is two-dimensional, you have to figure out how to show that depth, like what's near and what's far. So the push and pull. You have to figure out the lighting. You have to figure out what's big and what's small. You have to do all of this by using lines, colors, shapes, values, etc. to show that on your page. But when you work from a print, the camera does all the work for you. So to test this out, what you can do is you can set up a still life and draw from that still life. So actually set up like, you know, say an apple in a bowl, and put like a lamp, put the lighting, like say, you can put the lighting from the right hand side or the left hand side, and just like set up a whole still life. And then once you're done drawing that, find a very similar thing, like a photograph of a still life, that you can, and then do a drawing of that. And then you're going to understand how much easier it is to draw from a photograph. So I'm just going to show you here. So just say that I was going to draw, I'm going to use this as an example. Just say I was going to draw these hands over here, okay? And I was going to draw it from this picture, this photograph of a drawing. It is going to be much easier for me to do this than to say have my daughter sit down in a pose, you know, with her hands like so, and I set up the lighting, etc. This is going to be much easier for me to draw because all of the problems, the big problems are already resolved for me. Whereas when I'm going to be drawing from real life, first of all, if you're drawing from a model, it's going to be very difficult for that model to keep that pose for so long. That's just a basic problem that you're going to have. So you have to work much faster. But then you also have to figure out, how do I show the depth, the lighting, you know, the space, the way all of the parts of the hand relate to each other. That is all resolved to a large degree in a photograph. So the three things that you can help with your drawing skills is to do blind contour and semi-blind contour drawings. And you can just do a quick Google search on YouTube and it'll go into great detail about what those are. That is the foundation of like good drawing skills. If you can do blind contour and semi-blind contour, and then the second thing is to draw from real life. So set up still lifes, go outside, draw a leaf, but do it from real life rather than like a book. I'm not saying drawing from a print is not valuable, and it is, but if you want to strengthen your drawing skills, draw from real life, and then practice. 15 minutes a day is better than 3 hours a week. If you just develop a habit of drawing, like what I do is I keep a little like a sketchbook, like a tiny sketchbook, and just some basic pencils. And I just keep it in my purse. And anytime I have like 5 or 10 minutes, I just pull it out and I just do a quick doodle, a drawing, whatever. Now, another point I want to mention is that drawing from a photograph or real life is much easier than making something up in your mind. So when I'm painting this, I am making this up in my mind, okay? But drawing from real life or a photograph is much easier because I am copying what I am seeing, like the shapes and the colors and the shadows and the details and the lighting, etc., is all in front of me, even in a real life situation. It's all in front of me and I am translating it. But when I am drawing from imagination, I have to make everything up in my head. So it's like building a puzzle without a picture to look at. Like your brain has to do a lot more work to create the image, because I'm like basically just pulling this out of my mind. So if you are doing that in your art journal or whatever, you're just like drawing what's in your mind, give yourself a break, because that is really difficult. And it might seem counterintuitive that this is more difficult to do than this. And to some degree, like, yeah, sure, you need a lot of skill. You need skill and practice to draw this. But what I'm trying to say is that the image is already there. So yes, you need skill, you need practice, you need a lot of repetition to draw this. But the image is there and you are copying it. It requires a lot of skill, yes. But when you are drawing something from your imagination, you're just making everything up in your head, which is why Picasso is known to be such a giant, is because, yeah, sure, when he was 15 years old, he was painting like a master. Yes, that is true. But then he went on to create like genres upon genres upon genres of stuff. He was just freaking pulling from his imagination. And somebody might look at that and say, well, sure, that's really easy to do. Like, I could do that. Like, a 2-year-old could do that. Yeah, but you didn't do that, is my point. You didn't do that. He did. And that is the big distinction. So anyways, you guys, I hope that this has been interesting. I am going to make another video and come back to this, but I have to let everything dry. And if you've watched all the way to the end, thank you so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.